Okay, if everyone can see that. Yes, as everyone will know, we've recently managed to acquire the local centre and enterprise zone from Gallagher Estates, part of the L&Q Group, for 5.05 million. And the area that we've acquired includes the local centre, which is this parcel here, where there's a requirement to build a community centre and retail unit space. Parcel 2, which is also in the local centre area, which is designated as generally as mixed use. Parcel 1, Parcel 3 and Parcel 4, which are within the enterprise zone allocation. We have secured also an option to acquire Parcel 5 within the enterprise zone if at some point the county council decide that they don't want the household waste recycling centre allocation there. I try and move on to the next slide, figure out how to do that. How do I move it on to the next slide? Ah, there we go. So the opportunities for the enterprise zone and the local centre are, and the council are interested in investing in, is the business benefits to deliver the local centre in the enterprise zone at Northstowe, providing community centre, local shops, creating jobs, new business space, creating and promoting green energy use, and providing income stream to the council. The project success and quality criteria would look like a local centre to include the new community centre and retail, enterprise zones buildings which become fully occupied, and a green and zero carbon development as an exemplar of business parks within the area. The primary objective is the development and delivery of the local centre, including the community centre and the enterprise zone at Northstowe. And the secondary objectives are the green and zero carbon plan to meet the council's own objectives, and the attracting and establishment of new clean tech firms to the enterprise zone to develop and grow, creating new jobs and new training opportunities. The estimated milestones will be the business case and project plan approval in Q3 2021, a reserved matters planning application and the procurement of development partners in Q4 2021, and the first completions and occupations by Q2 2023. This slide shows an indicative layout, and this is a result of pre-application inquiries with the local planning authority, who have given us this piece of advice. And the aim now is that now that we've acquired the site is to put a professional team in place that will help us develop the principles within this plan in order to achieve that reserved matters planning application, so we can actually get on with building the schemes within the local centre and the enterprise zone, and get everyone the community centre and the shops that I think a lot of people are looking for, but also to create the business space which local businesses will be looking to establish in. And I'll keep it at that, if that's okay, Gareth, and just take any questions.
Brilliant, thanks to David. I think you've certainly helped us get back on track on schedule. So there's a couple just questions starting to flow through. So what are the plans for meaningful consultation and community engagement in the design process?
We've undertaken a tendering exercise to recruit an advisory team of consultants to help us develop what we go through what we call the RIBA work stages, which will involve extensive consultation and workshops with all the stakeholders that will be involved within this. This will be obviously the people in the local community, but also the wider community, the wider business community, who are hoping to engage with them about what their needs and wants are within the area. But also, you know, our partners in this as well, the Combined Authority, the County Council, Homes England, because of the relationship that we have with the town centre. So once that team is appointed, we will then be able to come back to the forum, or perhaps, you know, update people before the next forum about our plan for the engagement and, you know, dates and times for the workshops, and a programme showing, you know, how we're going to get from where we are now to the point where we're submitting the planning application, with a view being that we'll get a fully formed project brief and hopefully a consensus of opinion prior to submitting that planning application. So plan is to leave no one behind if that's what anybody is worried about.
Brilliant, thank you, David. Next question, does this mean there will be no local amenities for at least 2 years? Obviously concerns there over the speed of housing and the overwhelming facilities in the area. Yeah,
it'd be difficult unless we're able to accelerate the planning process perhaps on the local centre, which is something that we will explore to get permanent facilities in place by then. But we want to explore initiatives such as pop-ups and meanwhile space, so that we may be able to utilise some of the area and explore the different kind of uses that we can provide here, because I'm well aware of the number of occupations in Northstowe. And we see time and again housing developments being brought forward, and it's always the community facilities and particularly the shops that seem to come along sometime afterwards. So we're as keen as anyone else to get the retail offer in place as quickly as we can, but we also need to ensure that we get the community centre offer in as well, and that we get that right and that it's good for the longer term.
Great. So I think there's a question that just having a separate conversation. I think that colleague Claire maybe type in an answer for the next question, which was about really looking forward to having a designated community centre. Will we have use of the wing until it is ready? I don't know if Claire, you want to come in there, if you're going to type an answer to that one. In fact, I can see that Claire has. So just for everybody's benefit there, it says from Claire, we're discussing with Pathfinder School how the community use of the wing can be sustained until the community centre is ready. So just to confirm that one. Next question is there any provision for youth centres or other facilities for young people? David, I don't know if that's something you can pick up, or whether that's something through conversation or any of the other sort of civic buildings at all, or any other colleagues on the call want to kind of jump in on that one?
Well, just within the community centre building, I mean, there's quite a detailed specification that was set out in the 106 agreement, and that could be revisited with a view to making more specialised use provision within there. But there's no separate standalone youth facilities that I'm aware of. Other colleagues might want to comment on that one, but that doesn't mean that that there won't be, or that there could be an option to develop that. Everything needs to be on the table for us to explore with the community, because things have definitely changed, obviously, since the planning application in 2014, which is the outline consent that this one is, and where we are now in 2021 and 22-23 by the time that we'll actually be putting the physical buildings on the ground. So we do need to acknowledge what the needs and the wants are of the community there, but also in the context of what's happening in the town centre, and what developments are happening over there, and whether or not it's appropriate to have separate youth centre provision in this area as well.
Thank you, David. And I can see that Claire's added that we're working with CMAT to bring forward an exciting new facility on the education campus, focusing on community arts involvement. And I think I'm probably going to look to Claire to type an answer on the next question as well, around the intended model for long-term ownership and management of the community centre. Will this be a facility Northstowe Town Council will be able to manage? I don't know if Claire, you want to come off mute and come in there at all, or I think this has been answered via the chat. Let me just go back and just check. Sorry. Yeah, okay, so Rosie, who's the interim clerk of the Town Council, and yeah, she's expecting Northstowe Town Council will have a seat at the table when discussing that matter. So I think the next one is more of a comment, really. This needs to be considered the number one way to reduce antisocial behaviours to provide facility. So I think that's I think we've kind of answered that already. So I'm just going to put that one through. And is this the only community centre building for the town? And I think Andrew Thompson may be able to come in here. Andrew, I don't know if you want to come off mute and answer that one for the forum.
Yeah, it was just no is the short answer. Obviously there's the Civic Hub as well, and there's also plans to put a community facility as part of the local centre within phase 3. The short answer is there will be community facilities. On top of that, then you also have the sports pavilions, and again there's already 2 of those planned, and then there's further ones planned as part of phase 3. So the short answer is no, it's not the only community centre building for the town. There will be other ones across the town.
Thanks, Andrew, and probably don't go too far, because this one I'm just going across to Facebook now. We've had some comments on there, so people throwing a curveball just to make sure I'm staying alert. So it could be David, could be Andrew, this one. Are all these enterprise zone buildings still low level buildings as originally presented to us by the developers? So I don't know if David or Andrew wants to take that. Probably David.
Yeah, it depends which drawings they've seen. I mean, I've seen drawings of relatively low level buildings, but they're what we call BH sheds, which are quite industrial, and you might not want them near to you because of the noise that you will get from HGVs and smells and things from chemical processes. The buildings that are envisaged in this plan are generally more office type buildings, but perhaps with some research and development space included within the ground floor as well. And the layout is suggesting a more pavilion building type structure, so taller buildings up to 3 stories, but with more open space around them and less car parking. So it's quite different than what we were anticipating when we interpreted the outline consents, when we started, asking the planners and urban design about what they thought it should look like. Things appear to sort of like move towards more taller pavilion style buildings, but within a much better quality setting. I hope that helps.
Lovely, David, thank you. And I think this is another one for you possibly here. So again, from Facebook, is the local centre planning application combined with all the other areas that was purchased? Separating them out might get the local centre sorted quicker.
Yeah, it's possible, and Andrew might be able to comment on this one, whether or not we could bring in a separate application on the local centre, whether that's actually possible, or whether the local planning authority would want us to bring in reserved matters that actually brings everything in together.
Hi everyone again.
Andrew.
Yeah. The short answer is yes, those are options available to us. Obviously we would want them in logical parcels, so we won't want to hive off the local centre, but David's also talked about meanwhile uses and temporary pop-up uses. There's an opportunity to consider those in alternative locations. And again, in terms of story heights, again, there are different story height parameters across the development. So we would be making sure that the ones that have a direct relationship, and I think that's the 3A, B and C and D, are appropriately designed so that the amenity of the residents aren't, there's not a loss of light or anything on those kind of lines.
Lovely, thank you, Andrew. And obviously,